Amidst a violent storm, the sea roars with fury, and lightning flashes across the dark sky. In this chaos, our warrior stands up, covered in a dark energy and ready for battle. With a powerful leap, he charges forward with his weapon in hand to strike his gigantic opponent. At that moment, the mystical creature is hit by a direct attack full of electric power. Thus, the spear pierces the monster, causing a massive explosion of intense red energy. Despite all the damage to his body, the young man gives a strange smile and starts laughing to himself. He finally did it, and he wonders if the winner can still be considered a human being. The creature laments because it only had one more year left to finally become a real dragon. Furthermore, the divine being cannot believe that the human used a talisman made just to take him down. The beast then cries out in pain and wonders what the reason is for such a great and deep grudge. Unfazed, the warrior just stares at his fallen opponent and calls him a fool for not understanding. Then the monster asks what he gained from all that. After all, the fighter replies that he does not need anything, as he just paid off a debt to his benefactor. With an exhausted body, he looks to the skies and wonders if what he did was enough. The mystical being starts to question the name the young man mentioned before being defeated, but right after, his consciousness wonders who he was really talking about. Soon after, a huge explosion happens in the area and consumes everything around it in flames. The creature's soul questions if its destiny was to fade away like this, but a strange sound catches its attention. Suddenly, it realizes that it is still alive, because its consciousness continues to exist. It feels a heartbeat and notices that its mana is gone, but there is still strength in its renewed body. The creature then questions if they thought he would surrender, just because his mana was sealed. With this determination, a new energy begins to flow intensely from his body. Thus, the spirit tries to break free with all his might from the seal that imprisoned him. But suddenly, the consciousness wakes up in a different place, feeling out of breath. Lying on the ground, he realizes that he has no strength to move properly. Then, looking around, the being comes across a mountain of gold and treasures. He notices that the place is full of extraordinary and clearly very valuable items. At this, the creature wonders who the owner could be and why they gathered so much wealth. In the middle of all the gold, he finds a strange stone with something written on it. The inscription on the stone marker is a message for a child who never saw the light of the world. He then thinks that maybe that place was made to raise a baby who passed away. The little being decides that maybe he should say a prayer for the departed child. But upon bringing his hands together, he feels a strange and soft texture to his touch. The little creature gets startled and starts wondering what is wrong with his face. Looking at his paws, he goes into shock seeing how short and small they are. Furthermore, he notices that his belly is chubby and round, making him annoyed. Frustrated with his new form, the little monster makes a face of pure discontent. He keeps wondering the reason why his body turned out so weird like that. Seeing his reflection in a coin, the reincarnated being is shocked by how tiny he is. In a freak out, the creature shouts that that pathetic thing cannot be him at all. The creature calms down and realizes that this must be what humans call reincarnation. Even without fully understanding the situation, he decides that he needs to do something about it. For now, he decides to explore the place, as he might find something useful around there. Walking through the treasure, he sees swords and talismans, and thinks the owner has strange tastes. Looking at a shield, he mocks the glitchy curse that turns anyone who stares at it into stone. Next, he finds an item that causes eternal hunger and calls it another classic curse. The little being also finds a potion that takes away the voice and grants legs, but he does not even consider that a curse. He wonders why there are only items like these in such a bright place full of light. Suddenly, purple jewel catches his attention amidst all the gold coins. The reincarnated one looks up and wonders if the precious stone rolled down from the top of the pile. At that moment, he realizes the vastness of the shining treasure that is in front of him. The little creature is amazed to see that he is facing a literal mountain of treasures. With his eyes shining with happiness, the creature celebrates because he hit the jackpot. Then he sees that it is not just any jewel, but an artifact with magical power. Holding the stone, he feels a dark power very similar to what he had before. Because of this, the little creature decides he needs to take that item for himself. But when trying to remove the jewel from its spot, he realizes the setting is getting in the way. With a little effort, the being realizes he can pull the item out if he pulls harder, so he holds the magic stone firmly to finally be able to grab it. The little guy throws himself on the ground and pulls with all his might, but the stubborn jewel does not want to come loose at all. With all his strength, the being pulls the jewel one more time and believes there is only a little bit left. Suddenly, the item comes loose from the base, and the little being is surprised by what happened. At this, he starts to fall, but he hugs the artifact tightly and promises never to let it go. Thus, the little creature rolls down the mountain of gold coins without being able to stop. After the fall, he complains of pain and laments that before, this would not even leave a single scratch. But the reincarnated one is relieved to see that at least the precious jewel remains intact. In that instant, a strange energy begins to emanate from the pile of golden coins. The little being stands up startled and feels a weird pressure coming from the spot. He notices a distortion in space and feels a powerful being approaching from the other side. The creature doubts that even his old form could beat this new opponent. But he is not intimidated and remembers that he is the Black Dragon, a powerful divine beast. Then, a huge blue portal opens completely in the middle of the treasure room. From this portal, a giant golden claw emerges in a very imposing way. Right after, a blue, reptilian eye stares at the little being with great intensity. A majestic golden dragon appears and stares at the little creature with superiority. The little dragon realizes that the other one is trying to intimidate him with his aura. Even though he is scared, he shows his small teeth and decides he will not back down. He then tries to roar back, but he only manages to let out a cute and embarrassing meow. The golden dragon stands still, watching the scene while a spark appears in the air. Suddenly, the little guy is thrown backward by a sneeze and wonders what that sound was. The little guy lands right on the golden dragon's tail, who identifies him as a newborn hatchling. Then the larger being approaches and says he must be scared, leaving the little one terrified. With his eyes full of tears, the little creature trembles in dread, not knowing what to do. But the dragon says there is no need to be afraid, and suddenly starts transforming into something else. He turns into a beautiful blonde woman and holds him, asking if he feels more comfortable this way. The lady introduces herself as Christina, and the little being is surprised she is saying his name. With this, Christina notices that he has not eaten anything and asks if the little guy is okay. He understands the question and remembers that in his old form, he could last 1 month without eating. But at that instant, the little one's tummy rumbles very loudly, leaving the lady surprised by the noise. The little guy gets super embarrassed and wonders what on earth that sound was that came out of him. To his despair, the rumbling does not stop, and he turns red with embarrassment at the awkward situation. The blonde notices that his instincts are stronger and that she needs to stay calm. Then she wonders what the little dragon is doing and grabs a bottle that was stored away. With a smile, the woman opens the bottle, which seems to contain some kind of milk for the hatchling. The object actually looks a lot like a baby bottle and is filled with a white liquid. The little being smells a familiar scent coming from the bottle and gets curious to know what it is. With sparkling eyes, he realizes that that delicious and irresistible smell is milk. At this, the reincarnated one's mouth starts to water, and he cannot control himself properly. Christina offers the bottle, but he hesitates on whether or not he should accept the food. The little guy then backs away a little, still very suspicious and not knowing what to do next. Christina says that if he does not want it, she cannot do anything, and starts to put the bottle away. The little guy gets desperate and wonders if she is really going to take the food away. Without thinking twice, he jumps and grabs the bottle with all his strength to drink. The lady smiles and says he must have been very hungry while watching him eat. The reincarnated one is shocked and wonders how simple milk can be so tasty. With his eyes shining with happiness, he keeps drinking and enjoying the incredible flavor. Christina asks if it is good, and the little being lets out a cute and embarrassed sound. Then the blonde turns around and starts walking away from the little dragon, who watches her curiously. She reaches out her hand and invites him to go with her if he feels comfortable with the idea. The woman says there are much tastier and more fun things for him to discover in the world. The little guy does not understand everything, but he realizes the offer is for him to go along with her. He thinks she does not seem to be a bad person and that there are only treasures there and nothing else. Furthermore, the instincts of this new body are strong, and it is dangerous to stay without a guardian. The little dragon tries to convince himself that it is not just because the milk was truly very good. Determined, he goes to the lady and gently tugs on her dress to get her attention. She turns around with a smile and welcomes the little hatchling who chose her. The woman picks him up and says she is thankful that he was born, as she thought he would not make it. The reincarnated one is confused and wonders why she is thanking him just for being born. He finds the situation strange but not bad, and realizes she is talking about the child from the stone marker. With this, the little being comes to the conclusion that the original soul of that body has already passed on. With an unexpected gesture, he offers the lady the jewel he grabbed with so much effort. The woman is surprised and asks if that is a gift or if she should hold on to it for him. He then rubs against her and thinks his guardian should not be feeling so down like that. At this, the blonde hugs him happily and wonders how something so cute can exist in the world. As they leave, she says she will be under his care from now on. The little guy looks back and feels grateful for having received this new chance to live. Thus, he wishes that the original soul of that body can finally find peace. In this life, the reincarnated one will not be defeated so easily and will get strong so that no one hurts him. With his eyes glowing red, he decides he will use everything he can to his advantage. The little dragon then sleeps peacefully in a soft bed surrounded by many jewels. Sometime later, the little creature wakes up slowly, blinking his sleepy eyes. Right after, he stretches and lets out a very big and loud yawn. 1 month has passed since then, and now the little guy is getting ready for his morning meditation. At first he was confused by this body, but little by little he got used to everything. In this form, energy gathers in his heart even without breathing exercises. He thought something was wrong, but seeing the lady use magic, he realized this is normal there. Thanks to this, the being does not need to train his mana core, and can focus on another part. The little dragon is near a place where the purest mana of all flows freely, in addition to having a newborn body free of impurities, leaving him very satisfied. But despite everything, he still has one single thing that makes him quite dissatisfied with it all. What makes him so dissatisfied is a shiny little thing that will not leave his side. He glares at what he calls a strange watcher that keeps an eye on him non-stop. The reincarnated one wonders if that luminous creature even sleeps at any point. Christina got worried and summoned this spirit to watch over him while she is away. Because of this shining being, he cannot even do any real physical training. Furthermore, whenever the little dragon tries to sneak out of the room, the spirit runs and calls the blonde, who quickly appears saying that it is dangerous outside. At least the little guy's internal energy keeps increasing steadily. With focused eyes, he decides it is finally time to try one new thing. Then the reincarnated one concentrates to try to use a powerful teleportation spell. But he realizes it is still early, as he has not figured out what to do with his luminous watcher. The little dragon needs to come up with a plan soon to manage to get rid of the spirit. Another problem is his pronunciation, because his mouth structure makes it hard for him to speak. He knows this will not be easy to fix until his new body grows a little. The little guy turns red with embarrassment because the spirit imitates and praises him non-stop. Suddenly, his eyes widen as he feels a familiar flow of mana approaching. It is Christina, who appears floating and asks if he has been behaving nicely. The reincarnated one runs excitedly to her, as he knows it is already time to eat again. The lady thinks he came to welcome her, but the little one denies it and says it was only for the food. She offers meat, and when checking his mouth, she notices his teeth have not grown in yet. He confirms that he really wants it, and the lady laughs, saying he is quite smart for understanding. She calls him the smartest hatchling she has ever seen, and he thinks that is obvious since he is a divine beast. The little being wags his tail and realizes his acting worked because she does not suspect a thing. With this, the blonde picks him up, but he says that was not it, and he really just wanted the milk. But he knows he needs to stay on her good side, so he snuggles up and makes a cute sound to please her. The woman's blue eyes shine with happiness seeing how attached the little being seems to be. Then she hugs him tightly and says he is the cutest hatchling she has ever met in her life. The little guy stares at her suspiciously while she says she got distracted and lost track of time. At this, the lady offers him a bottle, and he celebrates because that is what he wanted from the start. While happily drinking, he thinks all his cute acting was worth it in the end. With his eyes focused on the bottle, the little being remembers one thing that always happens. Whenever he is eating, Christina sits by his side and starts talking to him. Even though he does not like listening to stories, he who barely had friends can understand her. He notices that just by venting to him, the woman already seems to feel much better. The reincarnated one notes that her face lights up with a much more relaxed smile. From hearing the stories so much, he ended up gathering a lot of information about this new world. With a smile on her face, the blonde turns around and calls him to talk about a certain topic. The little being feels a chill, and she asks if he has already finished eating his snack. The woman makes a cute face and asks for a favor, and he realizes none of that was for free. He thinks he lived 999 years just to have to act cute for simple milk. Even though he is annoyed, he lets out a cute sound and gives a smile to fool the woman there. With a clever look, the being thinks it is fair to give something in return for what he received. The blonde pets him, and the reincarnated one accepts it since she seems satisfied. He gets embarrassed by the affection but cannot be rude to his benefactor. She hopes that for being so cute and smart, he will have a wonderful and happy life. With these sincere words, the little dragon has no choice but to admit one thing. Christina is a brilliant and warm person, and that is clear in her actions and words. Lying on the floor, he thinks that he never received kindness and does not know how to repay it. Then a memory pops into his mind of a girl asking if he liked to train. She questions him about living trapped there just because he wanted to reach a goal. The white-haired lady then asks if he was at least happy doing what he wanted. Without having an answer, he says their goals are different, but she calls him a fool. The girl laughs and says that is exactly why he does not understand things properly. Right after, she asks if he has ever felt happy in his long life. Furthermore, she questions if he knows what it is like to be adored or truly loved. He replies that this is not necessary, as he would become a dragon and had no time. The being then says she would become a celestial fox, but would not let go of what was trivial. With eyes full of determination, the young man reveals that he is going to become a human being. The girl is shocked by the revelation but right after starts laughing at the idea. With a red face, she shares that she found someone who loves her even knowing who she is. The girl explains that when you are loved, you want to return the affection you receive. With a gentle smile, she hopes that one day he can also understand this feeling. He thinks that would never happen to him, but she calls him silly for not noticing. The guy warns that she will no longer be able to return if she turns human, but he does not want to ruin the moment. So, with a smile, he wishes her a good life and admits that he also grew attached to her. The white-haired girl's eyes well up with tears, and she asks why he made that face. Feeling awkward, he tells her to stop mumbling and just say what she wants to say. In anger, the girl shouts that she hates him and calls him an idiot before running away from there. She runs off calling him slow, and the guy just watches her leave without understanding anything. Even from afar, he can hear a sincere thank you coming from the girl before she disappears. Back in the present, he still does not understand everything, but he learned what it means to return affection. At that moment, Christina returns and asks if the little dragon waited for her patiently, but the woman is shocked to see a scene, and he reveals his plan to return the favor. He takes his first steps in front of her and leaves her super emotional with the scene. The plan was to show that he had grown so she would get rid of the spirit that watches him non-stop. However, to his surprise, the lady starts crying and he panics, not knowing what to do. Suddenly, the little being is caught off guard by a very strong and unexpected hug. The blonde hugs him tightly, and the reincarnated one realizes she just got emotional about everything. Then she remembers that she almost forgot to give him one very important thing. The woman digs into her bag, and the little guy gets excited, wondering if it is more food. She says it is something he can even without teeth, and he wonders what that could be. With a smile, the woman reveals that the gift is from an immortal and very powerful bird. At this, the blonde shows a bag full of phoenix eggs, leaving the little guy shocked. One of the eggs starts glowing with a warm, golden light, catching his attention. The reincarnated one remembers the phoenix, the immortal bird, and thinks it is a vermilion bird, but he is confused because, as far as he knows, these creatures do not hatch from real eggs. Without thinking twice, the little being takes the bag with the eggs for himself. He then drags the gift with a little difficulty away from his guardian. The little creature keeps pulling the bag with all his might to a safe place. Sitting on the floor, he takes one of the eggs out of the bag to get a better look. With deep concentration, the little guy holds the egg and prepares for what comes next. Christina gets emotional as he cracks the egg with a small crack. The egg opens up and reveals a bright, golden yolk that looks very appetizing. The little dragon then starts eating the egg very eagerly and without ceremony. With eyes shining with joy, he finds that food simply delicious. The woman is happy and says the eggs are baked with red dragon fire. Eating a little more, he feels a spark of fire magic coming from the food. The blonde tells him to take his time and also offers a little milk to go with it. He drinks the milk, and she warns him that it is good to be careful even with his big appetite. The little creature loves the food because it is soft and practically melts in his mouth. Satisfied, he gets ready to grab the next one and continue his hearty meal. Then he finds one strange egg that is redder and harder than the others. He then decides to save the different item for later, since there are many others. With that, the reincarnated one lies down with a full belly and lets out a sound of satisfaction. Christina jokes, saying he eats very little and that she will need to fetch more food. The woman gently pets him and tells him to rest because she will be right back. As soon as she leaves, the little dragon stands up surrounded by many empty shells. The reincarnated one cannot believe he ate so much and that it will take a while to digest everything. At this, his eyes start getting heavy, and the sleepiness from digestion finally hits hard. The reincarnated one then falls asleep peacefully in his little basket to rest. After some time, his ear twitches, showing that he is about to wake up. With his eyes slowly opening, the being finally wakes up from his slumber. The little being then stretches to fully wake up from his nap. Already sitting in the basket, he realizes he ended up falling asleep without even noticing. He looks around and realizes he is alone, but something catches his attention. Then he sees more eggs and concludes that the blonde stopped by while he was sleeping. With hunger striking, he thinks about eating just one more, since he has already digested. The little guy convinces himself that just one more will not do him any harm. He justifies it by saying it is not gluttony, but rather a way to absorb more mana. Determined, he approaches the hard, red egg he had saved earlier. With a serious look, the reincarnated one prepares to face the challenge of the red egg. Sitting on top of the item, he realizes that it is the exact same special egg he saved. The little being knows he would have to deal with it, and now that he is alone, this is his chance. With his paw raised and full of power, he prepares to deliver one precise strike. At this, a large amount of purple energy starts to gather in his body. He then throws a punch with all his strength directly at the egg's hard shell. The impact generates an explosion of energy, but something strange happens next. The little creature is shocked because the egg starts glowing with no apparent damage. He cannot believe that his powerful strike could not even make one single scratch. The little dragon is thrown backward by the force of the impact and slides on the floor. Annoyed, he decides that since the egg wants to do this the hard way, he will not go easy on it. The being focuses his mana in his chest and prepares to use a greater power just this one time. With his paws on the floor, he starts channeling all his energy for the attack. A purple aura explodes around him and gathers into one sphere of pure power. The shadow of his dragon form appears as he lets out a powerful roar. With this, a massive beam of energy hits the egg with devastating force. Panting from the effort, the little guy wonders if he finally managed to break it. He celebrates his victory and says that, as expected, his power is truly incredible. The reincarnated one steps closer to see how tasty the egg that caused so much trouble is, but suddenly, the shell begins to crack on its own, and he is left in shock by the scene. The reincarnated one lets out a confused sound and wonders what that little thing coming out of the egg is. With his eye wide open, he tries to understand what on earth just hatched in front of him. From inside the egg, a cute, white little bird comes out, tilting its head and chirping curiously. The little dragon stares at the creature and wonders if that is even a real bird. At this, the little bird rubs against the reincarnated one's face in a very affectionate and cute way. He does not understand, because he felt the heat of a baked egg, but a bird came out of it. Furthermore, the little creature feels a strange and very familiar energy coming from the small being. With a surprised look, he realizes what is really going on with that situation. The energy he feels is a mixture of the phoenix's fire with the little dragon's own power. Then the reincarnated being understands that his power was not cancelled out, but rather absorbed by the egg. He drops to the floor in shock, as all the power he gathered went right inside that little bird. The little guy laments how hard it was to gather all that energy just to lose it in the end. The small bird lets out a few cute chirps, and the dragon wonders what it is trying to say. Suddenly, the little bird gets closer and starts to snuggle up next to its new friend there. The reincarnated one wonders why it is acting so affectionately toward him like that. Then an idea pops into his mind, and he remembers that it is a phoenix bird after all. With an attentive look, he wonders if the little bird is going through the imprinting process. He remembers that among the divine beasts, one of them has this trait, and he decides to confirm his suspicion. With this, the little dragon starts walking around the room, and the little bird soon follows him closely. The little guy walks with a serious face while the small being follows him, happy as can be, without complaining. The reincarnated one runs in circles, and the little bird follows him everywhere non-stop. At this, he stops annoyed and confirms that the imprinting is real while the creature chirps happily. Exhausted from having lost his energy, he decides to fly to a high place and rest a little. The bird tries to follow him by flapping its wings, but the being realizes it cannot fly high. Then the little dragon decides to ignore it, because if he is tired, the creature can fend for itself. But he notices that the little bird's chirps are getting weaker and weaker, and he gets worried. The little being sees that the bird has fallen and is weak on the floor, and realizes something is wrong. Annoyed, he complains about the clueless hatchling that made him lose so much valuable energy for nothing. Meanwhile, in a palace hallway, a familiar figure returns in quite a rush. Christina runs holding a basket and laments having taken longer than expected. She brought more golden eggs, because she was afraid the little dragon might be hungry. With a smile on her face, the woman opens the bedroom door and calls out for her little hatchling. Upon entering, she sees the shells on the floor and thinks he ate the leftover eggs and went to sleep. But as she gets closer, the blonde is surprised by the scene she finds there inside the room. The woman wonders what that little white thing sleeping next to her protagee is. She sees the little dragon and the bird sleeping in an embrace and finds the scene very cute and adorable. With a thoughtful look, the lady wonders if that was really a phoenix egg. The little bird lets out a very quiet sound and snuggles even closer into the dragon's warm body. At this, the small white being wakes up and chirps at Christina, who watches it with great curiosity. The woman gives a gentle smile to the little bird, which stares back at her with its little eyes. With a surprised look, the woman finally realizes what is truly going on there. The little bird lets out one chirp, and an aura of fire and darkness surrounds the two small beings. The blonde notices the fire mana, the darkness, and the dragon aura, and is amazed by the resistance. At this, she remembers the sacred fire bird that lives in the garden of the gods. Now this divine being is protecting the last black dragon, and she feels that it is destiny. But the woman finds it a problem that the creature will not let her touch her hatchling at all. Suddenly, the little dragon's paw twitches, and he begins to wake up from his sleep. Seeing the movement, the little bird goes on alert, and gets ready to protect its friend. With his eyes opening slowly, the reincarnated one finally wakes up from his nap. He holds the little guy and tells him not to be rude, as the lady is their benefactor. The woman smiles, and he asks how a chick came out of an egg that was meant to be baked. She explains that there is only one phoenix per generation, so it must be the new bird of the era. The blonde also says that a new phoenix only hatches 100 years after the passing of the previous one. The reincarnated being finds that strange, because the phoenix of this generation should still be alive. The guardian wonders if something went wrong in the world, or if this is some kind of bad omen. Determined not to ignore the situation, the woman summons her spirit of light named Ray. She will go meet Pasias, the elder of the Red Dragons, to discuss the hatchling. With the spirit in hand, the lady thanks the little creature for its usual help. She then says goodbye to the little dragon and asks if he will be alright alone for a while. He nods, but on the inside he celebrates, because Christina leaving means free time for him. She worries about leaving the three of them alone, but feels that the little dragon will be fine. It is not just because he is mature, as the being seems to already have his own values well defined. Furthermore, his mana control is impressive for a hatchling that has just been born. The reincarnated one uses his power with precision and complexity in a unique and different way. The woman knew he was not an ordinary genius and then remembers her old master. She recalls when he was dropped off and wonders if her master did something to him. But the blonde decides that this does not matter, and it makes no difference what kind of child he is. With a smile, she says she is his guardian and teacher and promises to return home soon. Suddenly, the lady turns around and remembers one important thing to tell the reincarnated one. She mentions that Pasias also has a son who is a very talented prodigy. With this, the guardian says that maybe that boy could be of great help to the dragon. Christina also says that who knows, maybe they will end up becoming good friends in the future.